The small town of Maple Grove was quiet, its streets lined with old brick buildings and the hum of small-town life. To the outside world, it might have seemed like the perfect picture of Americana. But beneath the surface, there were tensions, especially when it came to race. Officer Thomas Walsh, 32, had been patrolling Maple Grove for years. He was a man of rigid values and an even more rigid sense of entitlement. Thomas had always been the type of person to enforce rules with an iron fist, and his personal life mirrored that same rigid control. His marriage to his wife, Emily, had been built on a foundation of ownership, an unspoken belief that he controlled every aspect of their lives. Emily, however, had other desires, and for the past year, those desires had led her to 27-year-old Marcus Johnson, a black man who had recently moved into town. Marcus, a young and ambitious mechanic, had caught Emily's attention one fateful day when she stopped by his shop to get her car repaired. Their connection had been instant, fueled by the energy of two people looking for something they couldn't find in their own lives. Emily had felt neglected by her husband, while Marcus, new to the town, was drawn to her beauty and confidence. What started as casual flirtation soon turned into something deeper, a secret affair hidden away from prying eyes. Emily and Marcus would meet in the quiet of her home when Thomas was away on patrol, their moments together filled with passion and a sense of freedom they could never share in public. But secrets don't stay hidden forever. One afternoon, Thomas came home early from his shift. He had been suspicious for weeks, noticing the subtle changes in Emily's behavior, the late nights, the unexplained smiles, the way she seemed more distant. His suspicion turned into anger when he found a photo on Emily's phone, a selfie of her and Marcus, laughing together, carefree. Fury surged through Thomas like a wave. He couldn't believe it. The betrayal hit him like a physical blow. His first instinct was to confront Marcus, to punish him for daring to touch what Thomas believed was his alone. That evening, Thomas, with a clenched jaw and a badge of authority that made him feel untouchable, knocked on Marcus's door. Marcus answered, his face falling when he saw the officer standing there, the anger in Thomas's eyes evident. Before Marcus could say anything, Thomas grabbed him by the arm. "You think you can just come into my town and steal from me?" Thomas spat, his voice thick with rage. "You think you can sleep with my wife and walk away without consequences?" Marcus, taken aback and stunned by the officer's aggression, tried to pull away. "I didn't mean for this to happen, man," he said, his voice calm but firm. "It wasn't supposed to be like this." "Shut up," Thomas barked, pushing Marcus back into his apartment. "You're under arrest for adultery. You've broken the law. You've violated me, my family, and this town. You think I'm going to let that slide?" Marcus tried to remain composed, but the weight of the situation was overwhelming. "This isn't about you. It's about Emily and me," he said, his voice shaking with both fear and frustration. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone. We were just trying to find something real." But Thomas wasn't listening. In his mind, there was only one way to fix this: punish Marcus for what he had done. Without another word, he slammed handcuffs on Marcus's wrists and marched him outside, ignoring the stunned faces of neighbors who had gathered to watch. The drive to the police station was filled with silence, broken only by the sound of the siren. Marcus sat in the back, his heart racing, wondering how his life had come to this point. He had never intended to hurt anyone, especially not a man like Thomas, with all his power and authority. But now, as he looked out the window, he realized that the consequences of his actions had spiraled far beyond what he had ever imagined. When they arrived at the station, Thomas wasted no time. He was filled with a sense of righteous indignation, determined to make Marcus pay for his supposed transgressions. The booking process was quick, and Marcus found himself locked in a cell, staring at the bars that separated him from freedom. Word quickly spread through Maple Grove about the arrest. Emily, who had been distraught since Thomas confronted her, was torn between guilt and the overwhelming desire to stand by Marcus. She knew her affair had been a mistake, but it wasn't something she could undo. In her heart, she still cared for Marcus, and the thought of him being punished for their mutual indiscretion filled her with regret. She showed up at the police station, hoping to speak with Thomas, to plead with him to see reason. "Thomas, please," she said, her voice breaking. "This has gone too far. We both made mistakes, but he doesn't deserve to be treated like this." Thomas, his pride still wounded, turned to face her, his eyes cold. "He's going to pay for what he's done," he said. "And you, Emily, you're going to learn that there are consequences for betraying me." Emily's heart broke as she realized how far Thomas had gone, how far he was willing to go to punish Marcus. She could see the officer she had once loved wasn't the same man anymore. The power, the control, had consumed him. Later that evening, as Marcus sat in the cold cell, he thought about the choices he had made. He never wanted to be part of someone else's misery. But the affair had become a tangled mess, and now, as he waited for the consequences to unfold, He couldn't help but wonder if there was any way out of this without someone being hurt. But as the hours passed, the power of the law didn't seem so important anymore. The affair was a personal matter, and despite the way things had spiraled, Marcus couldn't bring himself to regret his feelings for Emily. He had tried to find something real in a town that had offered so little. The love, however brief, had been his escape. And so, as he sat behind bars, Marcus understood the one thing he couldn't change: sometimes, love came with a price, and sometimes, that price was far steeper than you ever imagined. Moral of the story. In life, our actions always have consequences, and sometimes, those consequences affect more than just us. Love and betrayal can twist things beyond recognition, but in the end, it's important to remember that no one owns another person, and respect, in all forms, is essential.